What if I told you that from the very day you were born, a trap had already been set for you? Not by accident, not by chance, but by design. Welcome to Prosperity Magic, where we expose the financial illusions that keep most people trapped for life and reveal the truths that the rich never want you to hear. Today's topic is not just about money. It's about control. Because the truth is, no matter how smart you are, how hard you work, or how many degrees you've earned, if you fall into this trap, escaping is nearly impossible. And the worst part? Most people don't even realize they're in it until it's too late. Let's talk about debt. But not the way your banker or your economics teacher explains it. Let's talk about the debt trap, crafted by the elite and designed specifically for people like you. Section 1. The business of debt. Do you know how banks really make money? Let's break it down. You walk into a bank and deposit $1,000. The bank gives you a tiny interest, say $20 a year. Now, someone else walks in and borrows that same $1,000. The bank charges them $100 in interest. You see what just happened? The bank paid you $20 and earned $100. That's an $80 profit for doing nothing but playing middleman with your money. Banks don't exist to help people. They exist to sell debt. Debt is their product, and you are the customer. But here's the catch. You're not going to walk into a bank and borrow money for no reason, right? So what do the elites do? They give you a reason. They manufacture the need. And once you believe you need something badly enough, you'll take out a loan to get it. And just like that, you step into their trap, smiling, thinking it was your idea all along. Section 2. Engineering the perfect consumer. You see, the wealthiest capitalists on this planet sat down with economists and social engineers to design a system. Their goal? To make sure you walk into that bank voluntarily and ask for debt willingly. They want you to believe that debt is the price of a better life. And so they created a dream, a glittering illusion, a story so seductive that generations have believed it blindly. The dream says, go to college, get a degree, buy a house, drive a luxury car, wear designer brands. And if you do all this, they say, you will become successful. You will be admired. You will have status. But here's the truth they hide. None of these things truly belong to you. That diploma, that designer bag, that shiny car parked outside, they're not assets. They're liabilities cleverly disguised. What you really own is debt. You're not working to build your future. You're working to pay off the past. Section 3. The greatest illusion of all, ownership. If you've ever taken an accounting class, you've probably heard the term assets. You were taught to think of your car, your home, your business equipment, even your luxury watch as assets. But let me ask you something. Can something that bleeds money every month still be called an asset? If you bought a house with a mortgage and the bank owns more of it than you do, is it really yours? If you're still paying off your $5,000 designer bag, is it an asset or a burden? The shocking truth is this: what you think are your assets are actually the bank's assets. You don't own them. You owe them. And if you don't keep working, they'll be taken from you. Section 4. The student debt scam. Let me share a story that appeared in the Wall Street Journal. It's about a man named Mike Meru, a dentist. Smart guy, right? High income, highly educated, respected profession. But here's what they didn't tell you in school. To become a dentist, Mike had to spend 7 years in college and borrow over $1 million in student loans to do it. Now, you'd think he'd be rolling in money, but every month, Mike could only afford to pay back $1,600. That sounds like a lot, until you realize that with interest, his debt was growing by $130 per day. At this pace, in 20 years, his $1 million debt would balloon into $2 million. That's not just a story. That's a sentence. Mike isn't alone. Millions of students walk into adulthood shackled by a debt they'll never escape. Not because they made bad choices, but because the system was rigged. Section 5. The government's hidden profits. You may think student loans are just a problem for individuals. Think again. After the 2008 housing crisis, U.S. banks were bleeding money. So what did the government do? It opened the floodgates. Suddenly, private companies were allowed to issue student loans, and the number of borrowers exploded. By 2012, total student loan and credit card debt in America had surpassed $1 trillion. By 2018, student loan debt became one of the largest assets of the U.S. government. Think about that. The more students take out loans, the richer the government becomes. More students means more debt. More debt means more control. And more control means you'll never be free. Section 6. Why education isn't the golden ticket anymore. Look, I'm not against education. But let's be honest, do universities really teach you how to manage money? How to build wealth? How to invest? When I was in college, I studied finance and economics. I even followed my professor's advice on stocks. You know what happened? I lost half my money. And my classmates, where are they now? Most are working desk jobs at banks, just like the ones that profited from our loans. Because here's the ugly truth, our professors weren't investors. They weren't entrepreneurs. They were employees. And employees can only teach you how to become one. Section 7. The Path of the Awakened. I was no different. I grew up poor. My parents told me study hard, go to college. That's how you'll escape poverty. But they never explained how to pay for it. So I borrowed. For years. Tens of thousands in debt. And when I saw my classmates still paying off those loans 10 years later, I knew I had escaped only by luck. But maybe it wasn't luck. Maybe it was because I chose a different path. I became an entrepreneur. I embraced debt, but on my terms. Because I discovered a secret, debt isn't evil. It's a tool. And when used wisely, it can build wealth faster than any job ever could. Books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad talk about this. I've read it every year since I started my journey, and it changed everything. Closing call to action and reflection. So today, I'm not just here to warn you. I'm here to share everything I've learned. If you've watched this far, it means something inside you is waking up. Maybe you've been lied to. Maybe you've been trapped. But now you have a choice. You can continue running on the treadmill of debt. Or you can learn how to use the system against itself and finally build real freedom. This channel, Prosperity Magic, exists for people like you, entrepreneurs, investors, future millionaires. So if this message resonated with you, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because next, we're going even deeper into the blueprint of the elites and how to flip their system in your favor. You've seen the trap. Now let's find the exit. Build suspense with energy. It's 2025. We live in the age of AI, automation, and opportunities that can scale globally overnight. So let me ask you, if you say you can't start a business because you don't have money, then what is the internet for? Every week, you see stories go viral. A guy who was riding a bicycle last month is now pulling up in a Porsche. A college dropout goes from $0 to millionaire by building something online. These aren't fairy tales. They're digital realities. But here's the thing they don't tell you, most people never make it, not because they aren't capable, but because they're already caught in a trap. And it starts with the very first loan you're ever offered. Welcome back to Prosperity Magic, where we expose the real mechanisms of money and control and how to break free from the silent war being waged against your financial freedom. Let's dive into the next level of how the elite have turned modern society into a playground for debt. And how to stop being their toy. Section 1. The student loan setup was just the beginning. Student loans were only trap number 1. They hooked you when you were still too young to know better. Before you could even legally drink in most countries, the system already had you signing away the next 2 decades of your life. But let's say you're smarter now. You decide not to go to college. Maybe you thought you outsmarted the system. Nice try. Because right when you turn 18, trap number 2 gets rolled out. It's shiny. It's seductive. And it fits right in your wallet. Credit cards. Section 2. The psychological game behind plastic money. Picture this. You're short on cash. You need to buy groceries. Your kid's birthday is coming. Your spouse wants something nice. Emergencies pop up. Then, out of nowhere, the bank says you're a responsible adult now. You should have a credit card. It's safe. It's easy. Just pay on time and there are no fees at all. We don't charge you. We charge the shops instead. Sound familiar? But wait. There's more. 20% off at restaurants and theaters when you use our card. Free gifts, travel points, cashback. No need to exchange currency abroad. Our card works worldwide. What a dream, right? You don't even realize the spell you've just stepped into. Because that convenience comes at a cost. And that cost multiplies like Warren Buffett's famous analogy of compound interest, only now it's working against you. Like a snowball rolling downhill, the unpaid balance gets bigger and faster. One missed payment, one bad month. And suddenly your life belongs to the bank. Section 3. I'll just never use a credit card. Really? So maybe now you're thinking, fine, I'll just never use credit cards. You won't trap me there. Oh, but the elites are always 2 steps ahead. Here comes trap number 3. The car. You're now in your 20s or 30s. You've got a job. You've got some status. How can you not have a car? And not just any car, a respectable one. After all, aren't you a man? Don't you need a powerful machine to conquer your journey? There's a saying, better to cry in a BMW than laugh on a bicycle. That's not just a quote. That's psychological warfare. So you take the bait. Another loan. Another payment. Another slice of your freedom gone. Section 4, the ultimate trap, the house still not convinced? Don't worry. Trap number 4 is the most brilliant of them all. It appeals to tradition, emotion, and your deepest desires. A home. Without a home, how can you get married? Without a house, how can you call yourself successful? What they don't tell you is this: modern homes aren't built for families anymore. They're built for banks. Why? Because you can't buy one without a loan. Banks know this. Developers know this. Governments know this. You'll be told, real estate always appreciates. It's the best hedge against inflation. Buy now or you'll never afford it again. So you borrow hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. And just like that, your family's largest financial decision becomes your longest sentence. Section 5, the inflation illusion. You may say, at least if I don't buy a house, I can just rent. Really? Let's talk about inflation. 10 years ago, rent might have cost $1,000 per month. Now it's $2,000 and still climbing. But mortgage payments? If you locked in 10 years ago, your monthly bill might now be less than $800. So what's the better deal? This is why banks win either way. If you buy, they get interest. If you rent, landlords get rich and banks own the landlords. It's checkmate. Section 6. What if the market crashes? Let's say you bought a house for $1 million. You put down $300,000 as a deposit. Then, the market crashes. Your house is now worth only $700,000. The bank calls and says, please pay the remaining $700,000 now. Wait, what? That's right. Because you never truly owned that house. You only had the right to live in it until the value dropped. In reality, that home was collateral, not an asset. To the bank, your home is a secured debt instrument. They'll repossess it, auction it off, and move on to the next dreamer. Section 7, why they'll never let housing collapse again after the 2008 housing crisis. Banks got smart. No more reckless lending. No more no-income checks. No more zero-down loans. Now, they check your income, your credit, even your family's income. And you still need to cough up a 30% down payment. So if housing prices drop, guess what? You lose first. Your $300,000 down payment? Gone. And if prices drop too far, they'll call in the rest. Can't pay? Doesn't matter. Because to them, that house was never yours. Section 8, so what's the lesson here? Now listen carefully. I'm not telling you never to own a credit card, or never to buy a car, or a house. I have all three. But I use them strategically, because I know the rules. I know the traps. And more importantly, I know how to make the system work for me. The banks? They want you to borrow to consume. I borrow to invest. There's a world of difference. And if you stay with me here on Prosperity Magic, I'll show you exactly how. Because once you see the system clearly, you stop fearing it. You start using it. And that is the first step to freedom. Call to action. If this episode opened your eyes, hit that like button. Comment below with the trap you faced. And don't forget to subscribe to Prosperity Magic, the place where entrepreneurs, investors, and future millionaires come to rise. Turn on the bell. Because in the next episode, we're going to dive into how to turn debt into leverage, and leverage into wealth. Remember, they built the game to make you lose. But now you know how to play it better. The trap is real. But so is the way out. Calm but provocative tone, you call it a trap. I call it a ladder. While most people are terrified of debt, the wealthy see it as the greatest tool for financial freedom. Welcome back to Prosperity Magic, where we don't just talk about money. We talk about how to master it. What you're about to hear may completely shift the way you see borrowing, spending, and investing. Because the real question is never, should I have debt? It's what kind of debt and for what purpose? Let's begin. Section 1, Rethinking Debt. The Rich Dad Philosophy. You've probably heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I've read it so many times, I practically have it memorized. And yet, I keep coming back to it. Why? Because every time I read it, I understand it on a deeper level. Most people think the book is just about saving more and spending less. But that's a mistake. This book doesn't just teach financial literacy, it teaches financial leverage. What's the difference? Leverage is about turning small money into big money. It's about using the bank's money, not just your own. It's about making debt work for you, not against you. Section 2. The smart use of debt. The wealthy know this. Debt can protect your assets and accelerate your path to freedom. Let me explain. Imagine you run a business in the US. If your company makes a profit, you pay taxes on that profit. But if your company is in debt and technically shows no profit, what happens? No taxes. This is one of the reasons billionaires often pay less tax than you do. Because when done right, debt shelters income. You might say, but what if the company fails? And here's the genius. The rich don't risk their personal money. They set up limited liability companies, LLCs. So if one business fails, it simply folds. The debts stay with the company, not the person. They walk away and start over. Section 3. Financial intelligence versus financial fear. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you to borrow recklessly and declare bankruptcy for fun. To qualify for good debt, you need financial intelligence and financial discipline. That means understanding the two most important reports in the financial world. 1. The balance sheet. 2. The income statement. These documents are the real report cards of life. In school, you're judged by your grades. In the real world, you're judged by your assets and liabilities. The moment you understand how to read these two reports, you're no longer flying blind. You're playing the game of wealth with your eyes wide open. Section 4. How money really flows. Let's simplify it. On top, you've got your income. On the bottom, your expenses. Money comes in. Money goes out. For the poor and middle class, this cycle looks the same every month. Get paycheck. Pay bills. End with zero. Then they do it all over again. The poor have almost nothing in the asset or liability column. And the middle class? They have liabilities disguised as assets. Mortgages, car loans, student debt, credit cards. When they get paid, the money flows like this. Income, liabilities, expenses, debt comes first. Living comes second. And if the paycheck stops, it's over. That's why the poor and middle class are more similar than they think. Their wealth depends entirely on a single income source. One lost job, one economic downturn, and they're back to square one. Section 5. Opening the door to wealth. So how do the rich break the cycle? They unlock one part of the chart that most people ignore: assets. This tiny box in the bottom left corner of your financial statement is the only real key to freedom. But what is an asset? It's something that puts money into your pocket, not takes it out. More specifically, an income-generating asset like dividend-paying stocks, rental properties, intellectual property, books, music, software, automated businesses. These are your money machines. They don't ask for pay. They don't get sick. They don't quit. They just quietly deposit cash into your account, even while you sleep. Section 6. The 3 levels of financial mastery. There are 3 main ways the wealthy build these machines. 1. Use your salary to buy assets first, then spend. Example: pay off a house fully and rent it out. The rent covers your life. 2. Create assets. Example: build a business that runs without you. Automate, delegate, monetize. 3. The highest level: use debt to acquire assets, then use asset income to spend. Yes, that's the golden formula. Let's say you borrow $1 million to buy a rental property. Monthly mortgage is $3,000. Rent is $2,500. At first glance, you're losing $500 per month. But look closer. That $3,000 payment, maybe $2,600, is principal. Money you get back when you sell the home. And only $400 is interest. So your real cost is $400. And your $2,500 rent is covering most of it. You're not losing. You're buying equity with someone else's money. Section 7. Beyond real estate, assets in disguise. Now let's flip the script. What if you borrow money to buy something that looks like a luxury, but it appreciates over time? Let's say you buy a rare sports car, limited edition, highly collectible. You don't even drive it. Years pass and its value climbs. That's an appreciating asset. Same with certain watches, art, or collectibles. Of course, this only works if you know what you're doing. But the principle stays the same. Use debt to acquire something that will be worth more tomorrow than it is today. Section 8, Digital Assets and Why You Should Start Today. Don't have $1 million? Start with something called lightweight assets, the kind you can build online. Like what? A YouTube channel, a personal brand, a blog or podcast, an ebook, a digital course. All of these are scalable, low cost, and, best of all, passive. Imagine uploading one video and waking up the next morning with thousands of views. That's not fantasy. That's how creators build automated income streams. I know because I do it. Right now, someone's watching a video I made months ago. And while they watch, I get paid. Sounds like royalties from books, doesn't it? Exactly. Section 9, The Power of Marketing Yourself. But here's the catch. Most people fail because they don't market themselves. They act like salesmen begging for customers. The secret? Attract customers. Don't chase them. That's called branding. When your brand becomes powerful, people come to you. They want your products. They want your advice. They trust your name. And with that trust comes income consistently and automatically. Section 10, Final Truths and Closing Words. Let's get real. If you have capital, real estate is still one of the best assets. Even if your mortgage equals your rent, guess what? A chunk of your monthly payment is equity you'll get back. Meanwhile, rent is just money burned. And if home prices drop, you'll still win long-term because rents rise, but fixed mortgages don't. That's why every time the market dips, I buy. The key is cash flow. At the beginning, you should only borrow to invest, not consume. Later, when you have a solid base of assets, you can borrow for luxury too. Because by then, you've built a machine that never sleeps. Call to action, strong and grateful. We're out of time for today. But if even one idea today shifted your perspective, that's a win. I share this knowledge for free so that more people can become entrepreneurs, investors, and financially free humans. If you want more content like this, white heavy check mark, hit the like button, white heavy check mark, subscribe to Prosperity Magic, white heavy check mark, turn on the bell to never miss an update, white heavy check mark, share this video with someone who needs it, and to those of you who like this video, may you reach financial freedom even sooner than you dreamed. Because once you understand the rules of the game, you stop being a pawn and start playing like a king.